You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. On today's episode of the podcast, we review the final of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2022 between Pakistan and England from the MCG. It's the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast, and let's get started. Let's have a look at the match summary of the final of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2022 between Pakistan and England from the MCG. Pakistan batted first and made 8 for 137 from their 20 overs. San Masood top scored with 38, and Sam Curran took 3 wickets for England. England needed 138 runs to win. They chased down the runs, 5 for 138 from 19 overs. Ben Stokes top scored with 52 not out, and Haris Rauf took 2 wickets for Pakistan. England won by 5 wickets, and Sam Curran was named Player of the Match. What were the key moments and key factors from the final of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2022 between Pakistan and England? The partnerships between Shan Masood and Babar Azam are 39 for the 3rd wicket and 36 for the 5th wicket between Masood and Shadab Khan helped Pakistan from 4 for 85 inside 12.2 overs, where it looked like they were going to get bowled out for a low score. England's bowling to keep Pakistan to a manageable score of 8 for 137 from their 20 overs. Pakistan's bowling to have England in trouble at 4 for 84 inside 12.3 overs. Shaheen Shah Afridi's catch helped Pakistan to get Harry Brook out, was a key moment in the game, but the injury he sustained while taking the catch cost Pakistan. Pakistan were a bowler down, which didn't help them. Ben Stokes' innings of 52 unbeaten of 49 balls was the key for England, and the partnership he added with Moeen Ali of 48 for the 5th wicket guided England to victory by 5 wickets and win this ICC T20 World Cup for 2022. Those were the key moments and key factors from the final of the ICC T20 World Cup for 2022 between Pakistan and England from the MCG. Let's have a look at both teams' performances in the final of this ICC T20 World Cup for 2022 between Pakistan and England at the MCG with both bat and ball. We'll start with Pakistan and their batters: Rizwan 15, Azam 32, Haris 8, Masood 38, Ahmed 0, Shadab Khan 20. That's how the Pakistan batters went about things in this final of the T20 World Cup against England. Pakistan's batting in this T20 World Cup final didn't get going. No momentum. Sort of lost their way throughout the whole innings. Wickets were falling at regular intervals. And for Pakistan, unfortunately, their batting didn't deliver where it needed it the most. And that's in a T20 World Cup final. 8 for 137 from their 20 overs wasn't going to trouble England. And in the end, England chased down the runs to win by 5 wickets. They needed around about 150, 160. I think, to really challenge England on a pitch at the MCG where the ball was doing a bit. It was seaming a little bit. The ball was swinging given the moisture and the cold conditions with the threat of rain looking to spoil the party for this T20 World Cup final. Unfortunately for Pakistan, they didn't quite get to that 150, 160 mark. 137, always a tough ask defending that at the MCG on a big ground, and in the end, they couldn't do it. As I mentioned earlier, they lost wickets at regular intervals throughout the innings. 1 for 29, 2 for 45, 3 for 84, 4 for 85, 5 for 121, 6 for 123, 7 for 129, and 8 for 131. Didn't build any big partnerships with the bat at all. 29, 16, 39, 1, 36, 2, 6, 2, 6 unbeaten. The opening partnership didn't get going. Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan didn't get Pakistan off to a good start like they did in the semi-final against New Zealand at the SCG. The opening partnership is so important for Pakistan, but when they fail, Pakistan's other batters don't do so well. And we saw that in this T20 World Cup final. They sort of just fell away, lost their way, no momentum, and just didn't really get going. As we mentioned earlier, Pakistan relies so much on the opening partnership with Azam and Rizwan. That showed in this final, as I mentioned. Pakistan's middle order struggled against England's bowlers. As I mentioned, they lost their way in the innings and couldn't put the pressure back onto the England bowlers, who were bowling well on a surface at the MCG that had a bit in it for the bowlers. A bit of seam, bit of swing in the conditions that were on offer. And the England bowlers were able to use those conditions well. Unfortunately for the Pakistan batters, they weren't able to adapt and they weren't able to find a way to get through those tough periods. And in the end, if they had a score of 150, 160 with the bowling attack they had, they would have been a good chance of winning this game. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be for Pakistan. And it just summed up their tournament, really. Very inconsistent, up and down. They lost the first 2 games of the tournament. In trouble of not qualifying for the semis. They had a bit of luck go their way with the Netherlands beating South Africa. And their batting has been a bit up and down. The opening partnership's been up and down throughout this whole tournament as well. It got going in the semi-final against New Zealand, putting on 100 runs for the first wicket. Unfortunately, in the final, they didn't really get going, and that's T20 cricket. T20 cricket is so unpredictable, and you're not guaranteed to have a bit of a blinder of an innings in the next game you play. And for the rest of the batting from Pakistan, it was disappointing. Maybe Pakistan need to have a little bit of a rethink in terms of how they go forward with their T20 batting. Do they make changes to the order? Do they break up the partnership between Rizwan and Azam? Bat Rizwan down the order and have someone else open the batting with Azam to add that extra firepower down the order when needed. So that's for Pakistan to think about going forward after this T20 World Cup. But as I mentioned, their batting just wasn't good enough, wasn't firing in this final, and unfortunately didn't quite get the job done. So overall, it was a poor batting performance from Pakistan in the T20 World Cup final against England. Let's have a look at Pakistan's bowlers and their performance in this T20 World Cup final against England at the MCG. 2 wickets for Ralph, a wicket for Shadab Khan, Wasim and Afridi, no wickets for Ahmed and Shah. That's how the Pakistan bowlers went about things in this T20 World Cup final against England. Pakistan's bowling didn't get going, didn't really fire in this T20 World Cup. Just like the batting wasn't really on song. Defending 137 was always going to be tough against England, but especially at the MCG with the size of the ground, of the boundary square of the wicket, and also short down the ground. It was always going to be tough for Pakistan to defend 137, but they did well to stay in the game by taking wickets when needed. They did well to have England 4 for 84 inside 12.3 overs. At that stage, the game was in the balance, but that was to be short-lived. Shaheen Shah Afridi got injured, and that was pretty much the turning point of the match. He had 2 overs still to bowl. Those overs were key if Pakistan were to win this final. He took a very good catch to help Shadab Khan get rid of Harry Brook, and that's where the game was in the balance. But unfortunately, as he took the catch, he got injured. I think it was his knee or something, must have dug into the turf. He pulled up a bit gingerly and limped off the field. And that wasn't good signs for Pakistan or their supporters. He came back to bowl 1 ball of his 3rd over, but he could not finish the over. So Itikar Ahmed came in to finish his over, but he went for 13 runs. And the Afridi injury, as I mentioned before, was the turning point in the final. As soon as he went off and Itikar Ahmed bowled his over, Ben Stokes, who was batting well at the time, thought, right, that's one of the big bowlers gone in Afridi, so that's not good for Pakistan. They were bowler short, so they had to go to their other option, which was Ahmed. And in the end, Ben Stokes thought, right, okay, let's take him down and let's get this game over and done with. And he went for 13 runs, and that was the turning point for Pakistan in this final. That's where this game was pretty much in England's favour. If he didn't get injured, Afridi, may have been a different result, maybe. we don't know. But after the Afridi injury, and after he was out of the attack, the Pakistan bowlers didn't handle the pressure well. They didn't keep the pressure on with the ball to the England batters, were inconsistent with their lines and lengths, didn't execute their plans or skills with the ball. The fielding from Pakistan, again, we saw some missed opportunities for run-outs and catches. They didn't take those. If those chances were taken, it could have been a different result for Pakistan. But overall, it was a poor bowling performance from Pakistan. But they did well to try and stay into the game. They took wickets. They had England 4 for 84 at one stage. They were in the game. Unfortunately, Afridi goes down, which really set them back in terms of defending this 137 score. But it wasn't to be. Didn't quite fire with the ball at all in this game. So overall, it was a poor bowling performance from Pakistan. Overall, it was a courageous team effort from Pakistan in this T20 World Cup final against England. But in the end, it wasn't enough to get the victory. Let's have a look at England's team performance with both bat and ball in this final of this ICC T20 World Cup for 2022 between Pakistan and England at the MCG. We'll start with their batters. Buttler, 26. Hales, 1. Salt, 10. Stokes, 52, not out. Brook, 20. Ali, 19. And Livingston, 1 not out. That's how the England batters went about things in this T20 World Cup final against Pakistan. England's batting was good in this T20 World Cup final against Pakistan. They managed to chase down the target of 138 and did it with 1 over to spare. England were in trouble early, 1 for 7 inside the first over. Alex Hales got out for 1. A very good delivery from Shaheen Shah Afridi. Clean bowled him for 1. The opening partnership of Hales and Buttler didn't get going like they did in Adelaide against India for the semi-final. Different conditions, different pitch, different bowlers, T20 cricket's unpredictability. So England were under pressure. Buttler and Hales, they rely on them heavily to get them off to a good start. 1 for 7 after 1, Hales gone for 1. England were under pressure early in the run chase. They found themselves reeling at 4 for 84 inside 12.3 overs. England were in trouble at that stage of the game, and the game was in the balance. When Brook was dismissed for 20, the game was in the balance. But enter one amazing cricketer, and that is Benjamin Stokes. His innings of 52 not out got England home in the end. Like he did in the 2019 World Cup final against New Zealand, he got the side home, and he may not be at his fluent best in T20 cricket at the moment, Ben Stokes, but you got to say he's a pretty remarkable cricketer. He repeated his batting heroics as he did in that 2019 World Cup final against Pakistan in this T20 World Cup final at the MCG. He struggled early on. The ball was moving off the seam and swinging, and there was some swing as well in the air, as I mentioned, on this MCG wicket, which was helping the bowlers. It gave a bit of assistance, which was good to see. From the bowling point of view, Ben Stokes, he struggled, he played and missed. He got through that tough period to add 48 runs for the 5th wicket with Moeen Ali, and that partnership got England over the line, and he was able to see that tough period off, and he was able to cash in, get into his work, and get the job done. And that's the main thing. And his innings was key for England to make sure there's calmness in the batting order and also stability. Without him, 2 new batters at the crease, the ball doing a bit, you're under tremendous pressure. So he stayed in, got through that tough period, and he added 48 runs for the 5th wicket, as I mentioned, with Moeen Ali. And that partnership pretty much got England home in this game to win the T20 World Cup. Even though the opening partnership between Buttler and Hales didn't get going, England still had other batters to get the job done. Unlike Pakistan, where it's success or bust if Azam or Rizwan succeed or fail, with England, they don't rely heavily on Buttler and Hales all that often like Pakistan do. They didn't panic when they were struggling at 4 for 84 inside 12.3 overs. They batted smartly, rotated the strike, built partnerships, put the pressure back onto the Pakistan bowlers when they bowled a bad ball. Then they hit them to the boundary for 4 or 6. They had a positive, aggressive mindset. And, this England batting order is a pretty good batting order. a lot of dangerous players, and they thoroughly deserve their T20 World Cup victory. So England's batting was very good in the final. They got the job done, and that's led them to T20 World Cup success. So overall, it was a good batting performance from England in this T20 World Cup final against Pakistan. Let's have a look at England's bowlers and their performance in this T20 World Cup final against Pakistan at the MCG. 3 wickets for Sam Curran, 2 wickets for Jordan and Rashid, a wicket for Stokes, and no wickets for Livingston and Wokes. That's how the England bowlers went about things in this T20 World Cup final against Pakistan. England's bowling was good in this T20 World Cup final against Pakistan. To keep Pakistan to 8 for 137 from their 20 overs was a good effort in this T20 World Cup final. They bowled good lines and lengths. They executed their plans and skills with the ball. They took wickets at regular intervals throughout the Pakistan innings. They applied pressure with the ball onto the Pakistan batters. Every bowler did their job. Sam Curran, player of the tournament for this T20 World Cup, and also the player of the match in the final as well. 3 wickets for 12, did his job. He's been pretty good throughout the whole tournament. He bowled well in the final, bowled smartly, knew what he was doing, took wickets when England needed them the most in the final, but he has also done that throughout the whole tournament as well. He used the conditions well. This MCG wicket was offering a bit for the bowlers, bit of seam, bit of swing with the cold-like conditions, and obviously with a bit of moisture in the air as well. He used the conditions well, Sam Curran, and he's had a pretty good T20 World Cup and thoroughly deserved to be player of the match in the final and also player of the tournament as well. Adil Rashid, another bowler who did well in the final today, bowled well, 2 for 22 from his 4 overs, and a comedy rate of 5.5 is pretty good in a T20 World Cup final. Did his job with the ball and kept the pressure on with the ball to the Pakistan batters. He got rid of Babar Azam. That was the key wicket as well. Caught and bowled. He bowled a wrong un. Azam didn't pick it, hit it straight back to him for a caught and bowled. So Adil Rashid throughout this tournament's done a pretty good job as well. And all the England bowlers have done a pretty good job throughout this tournament. They've all chipped in when needed. They've really used the conditions well. Going into this tournament, that was the one concern for England. If their bowling didn't quite fire, they would have been under some pressure. But throughout this tournament, they've got the job done when needed. Obviously, to do it in the final without Mark Wood. Now, Mark Wood didn't play in the semi-final or the final due to being rested and obviously had a bit of a stiff muscles or something like that. But for England to do it without him, being the pace sort of intimidator, the X factor, he bowls quick. He's bowled many deliveries throughout this T20 World Cup over 150 kilometers per hour, and to not have him in the final was a big blow, and also in the semi-final. But the bowlers like Sam Curran, Wokes, Jordan, Rashid, got the job done without him. Also Ben Stokes as well. So this England bowling lineup has really delivered when needed, and under pressure, they've really delivered as well. So it's been a great performance from them throughout this whole tournament, but also in this T20 World Cup final as well. So overall, it was a good bowling performance from England, and overall, it was a great team performance from England in this T20 World Cup final against Pakistan, which saw them to victory and win the T20 World Cup for 2022. Congratulations, England, on winning the ICC T20 World Cup 2022 final. It's their second T20 World Cup title, following the one they won in 2010. Coming into this T20 World Cup, England were the favourites to win. They had an up-and-down tournament and were up against it when they needed to win their last 2 games to qualify for the semi-finals. England won their last 2 games to book their spot in the semi-finals. The semi-final win to India was by far their best game of this T20 World Cup, and it showed how dominant they are in the T20 format. But they played their best game for the final, and they deserve this victory. Pakistan will be disappointed about this result, but they should be happy of their efforts in this T20 World Cup for 2022. After losing the first 2 games to India and to Zimbabwe, their semi-final hopes were almost gone. But to win their last 3 games and for a bit of luck to go their way in the Netherlands knocking out South Africa to qualify for the semi-finals, it wasn't their year. But there's always the next T20 World Cup in 2024. What an ICC T20 World Cup 2022 we had in Australia. This T20 World Cup was an interesting tournament. It had it all. Upsets, close games, and brilliant individual performances with both bat and ball. Let's hope we have a great ICC T20 World Cup in 2024 in the Caribbean and the USA. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast, and like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.